All right, well, you guys come here for the truth, and that's exactly what you're going to get today because I'm hearing a lot of folks starting to talk a lot more about is AI kind of like the tech bubble 2.0 or something of that nature. And it's hard to distinguish because they have a lot of pretty charts, a lot of pretty graphs. They're throwing up all these different statistics and, making comparisons to back then and now. And there's just a whole lot of noise around the entire subject right there. But you guys know we like to deal with truth and facts. We don't like to get into any of the other speculative BS that goes on out there. And so we need to talk about, is the AI bubble and AI being all the rage, is this basically the tech bubble 2.0? Because unfortunately, there is some truth, but of course, like a lot of things, there's a lot of things that are not true as well. So just make sure you like the video if you like getting the truth without the hype. All right, so keep in mind with this video, I'm coming from the perspective of a guy who actually lived the tech bubble, actually have real money invested during the tech bubble. I know that makes me old. For some of you younger folks, go ahead and blast me down in the comments right now for being older, but I was actually invested during the tech bubble. So I remember it very, very, very well for obviously very, very bad reasons that we'll talk about here in just a second. But yes, I was there during the run up and when it popped. So I know it intimately. And obviously it was my first big lesson in the stock market. So that's kind of the perspective that I'm coming from. And this was a video that I actually released to my group a few weeks ago there because I was getting asked about it a lot there in the group. And so I felt like we should address it. Actually, it may have been just before NVIDIA's earnings. I'm not real sure there on that. So don't go blasting me if I happen to be wrong on that. I can't remember now, but it's something I'm starting to see in the comments on my videos now. So I felt like I needed to address it with you guys as my audience here. And if you want information like this in real time, the March Madness sale is ending in just a few days for my group where you get free coaching. You get 5 courses free. You get direct access to me anytime you want. You get to be a part of the best 6, 7, and 8-figure Discord out there. We'll talk more about all this at the end, but make sure you take advantage of the pinned comment down there and get your membership before the sale ends. All right, so let's jump into the video right now. And yeah, I know I'm wearing the same shirt. Sorry guys, it happens sometimes. Just how the rotation fell this week. All right guys, so let's talk about a subject today I'm starting to hear a little bit of, getting asked about it a little bit. And I kind of wanted to get ahead of it here. Basically, with everything going on right now, with all the big runs, especially in all the AI plays, all the indexes all making all-time highs or close to all-time highs, are we in a bubble? More specifically, is this kind of like the tech bubble 2.0 or whatever the case is? Now, if you kind of go back and think about it, the same exact thing was said in 2021, whenever we hit that, blow off top of the longest bull market in the history of the stock market there. The same exact narrative existed then, and clearly we have the benefit of hindsight now. It was not tech bubble 2.0. It was not that ridiculous. It was pretty ridiculous. A lot of things ridiculous. Obviously, for a lot of you guys, a lot of the things you were in may have been at that ridiculous level, but the market overall was not at that level of utter ridiculousness back then. So kind of keep that in mind, kind of keep that in context that 2021, as ridiculous as it was not nearly as ridiculous as the tech bubble was. And we'll get into that specifically here in just a second. So when I look at today, as we stand, is not even as ridiculous as 2021. And let's just run through a few examples here. In 2021, all you needed was basically a PowerPoint and you 10x, right? That was all over the place during that time. Penny stocks couldn't stay penny stocks because they would just, go 10x, 100x, whatever the number was. They were just all going to the moon. People were buying poop tokens and they were going to the moon. That's I'm illustrating these to show you how much froth was in the market right then. It wasn't froth like NVIDIA that's hitting all-time highs with incredible earnings and incredible revenue and incredible profit margins and a ridiculous amount of demand from the biggest companies in the world who have hundreds of billions of dollars on the balance sheet. That's not what was going on in 2021. It was people with a PowerPoint are going to the moon. And just for some more examples, every single celebrity had a NFT project that was going to the moon. You had, stocks basically IPOing, or SPACs were really all the rage back then. They were basically hitting the market and then running up to ridiculous valuations, or sometimes starting off at a ridiculous valuation and running up to ridiculous valuations. We are seeing none of that in this market right here. This market, as we're currently speaking, is much more driven by earnings and what's going on underneath with the economy, with everything else pushing the market forward than anything else. That data is released quarterly, as we all know, and earnings is showing a very, very different picture than it was back in 2021. And obviously that has played out through these earnings calls. And to me, more importantly, even if the stock market is running a little bit hot right now, it is not at ridiculous levels like we saw in 2021. So since I know most of you guys were not investing back during the tech bubble, let's go back then and kind of discuss that a little bit. Even if you were, old enough like I am to remember the tech bubble, you probably weren't watching stocks and intimately involved. You may have had some money in a 401k or something like that, but most people were not intimately involved in the market back then. I was. Now, I made every mistake back then, guys. Do not get it twisted. I lost 70% of my money before I finally cashed out and cut my losses and all other stuff like that. Obviously, a lot of lessons learned since then. But I made every single mistake you could make back then. And I remember distinctly the type of market it was and the type of froth that it was. So back then, if you simply had a website or you knew what a website was and what this new thing called the internet was, you were immediately given a $100 million valuation and people were just writing you checks. It didn't matter. And your stock was going to the moon, by the way. That was a $100 million valuation. Then you would hit, and then Wall Street would just run it up to ridiculous numbers, ridiculous levels. I mean, it was just insanity during that time. There were literally hundreds of stocks that fit into that category during the tech bubble time, during that time. So when you kind of think through that right now, I want you to think through right now, today, when you think about the high growth AI stocks. Can you name 5? Now, I'm not talking about NVIDIA and stocks like that or Google or Microsoft. I'm talking pure AI plays that are high growth. Can you name 5? And if you can name 5, I bet you can't name 10. Back then, there were hundreds. It was weekly. New ones were hitting the market and going to the moon. And the next week, a new one. How many IPOs have we had this year in regards to the market? Not a whole lot. I mean, I'm sure you can Google it. But it wasn't back then. I mean, it was literally be 2 or 3 a week and just, they would all just skyrocket to the moon. It was utter manic craziness back then. And now that I'm thinking about it, I can't think of a single AI IPO that's hit so far this year that's kind of benefited from that raise. I'm sure there has been. I'm not saying there's not, but I'm sure there's a couple of IPOs just in general. I'm thinking just overall IPOs. That market is dry right now relative to what it is during even just 2021, much less back during the tech bubble days. So kind of when you're viewing these sort of things and you're hearing these narratives about, oh my gosh, it's the tech bubble 2.0 and all these other things like that, laugh. Don't even waste your time with the video. Even if it's a creator you like, it is simply speculating on a topic that is interesting and, creates feelings and all that other crap like that we talk about. Completely ignore it. It is a waste of your time to even entertain the idea that it's that. Talk to me when we reach 2021 ridiculousness. And then at that stage, I wouldn't even call it in the ballpark, but we're at least getting in range. At least it's in view. It's way off there, but at least it's in view of what the tech bubble was. So when you see that, ignore it and move on with your life because it is not worth your time. It is only going to plant, they're going to pull an idea and kind of make a correlation to now. And it's just like, man, it was just so far and away ridiculous from back then. The vast majority of the people making that content were not even alive, some of them during that time. So you just got to kind of ignore that and move on with life. We are not even close to 2021, much less the tech bubble. I'll let you know if we get close to either one of those marks. Obviously, I'll let you know if we get close to 2021 at that stage. And then we can kind of move forward there. It doesn't mean we aren't due for a correction. That doesn't mean that we aren't frothy in a lot of areas. It doesn't mean that there aren't stocks that aren't going to fall 80% because there absolutely is. But remember, we're talking about something like the tech bubble 2.0. You're talking about a complete cratering of an entire index and all the stocks within that index. You're talking Amazon down 90%, Apple down 60%. You're talking, and I understand they were smaller companies back then, but that was the sort of devastation you saw across the board in the NASDAQ during that time. And we didn't see that in 2021. We're definitely not going to see that nowadays where we're at right here with the AI hype and all that other stuff going on right now. So I just kind of want you guys to keep that in mind, that I'm not saying we're not going to get a correction, but when people start talking about tech bubble 2.0, it's ridiculous. Not even worth your time. And remember, if you want videos like that, you want to see all my buy and sell alerts in real time, you want to take 5 courses for free, get free coaching, take advantage of our stock analyzer tool, be a part of the best 6, 7, and 8-figure Discord out there, get all the exclusive videos, all the exclusive posts. Guys, there's so much involved in the group. Make sure you take advantage of the pinned comment before the Match Madness sale ends and the price goes back up forever. And click this video here if you want to see exactly what I'm buying in this market, and click here to see my exact plan for this market. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.